Shalom. All praises go to the Most High, Yahawah, Bashem, Yahashua, Bashem, Kodash, Dabal, and the Son to the elder apostles, a great millstone, for the teachings of the scriptures, among other things. Shalom, that is to say, I come across the world. Now, this is the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 43, and it's about the word stranger. So this video, I think I'm going to call it stranger versus stranger in the Old Testament and Gentile versus Gentile in the New Testament, right? Something like that. I'm going to name it. Exodus chapter 12, verse 43. And Yahawah said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. So this is a clear order. It says a stranger is not allowed to eat from the Passover meal, right? Okay. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. So it clearly says, a stranger, a foreigner, and a hired servant shall not eat thereof, right? In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth off of the flesh abroad out of the house. Neither shall ye break a bone thereof on the Passover meal, which you're supposed to eat lamb. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. That's 100%. That means all. And when a stranger shall sojourn with you, meaning, sojourn, which is, visit or something, travel, temporary stay, visit, which is temporary stay. When you visit a place in another country, for example. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. So, if you would read it normally, you would think it's contradicting itself, because it says here a stranger is not allowed to eat, a foreigner is not allowed to eat, and a hired servant is not allowed to eat of the Passover meal. But here it clearly says that the stranger is allowed to eat, as long as he's circumcised, and he is allowed to eat, and all his males that are with him are supposed to be circumcised also. So, well, wait a minute. So it does say that a stranger is allowed to eat. Well, that's the same thing that is actually when it says that Yahawah said the Gentiles, that he was sent unto the Gentile. He's a light unto the Gentiles. Right. Now, if you go to the Hebrew, which is Exodus chapter 12, verse 43, and you look up this word over here, stranger, it says Hebrew 11:21 and Hebrew 36. Now, Hebrew 11:21 is ban, which is this, which means son. It doesn't mean children, it means boy. Children implies male and female. But then again, these Edomites, what they're doing is they're saying with a whole group of boys and girls, they say, guys, can you come over here and play? Or something like that. Guys, stop it. So they're lying to you because they're bringing confusion. This is the word for ban, which means sons. And then the other word is Hebrew 52:36. Hebrew 52:36, which is nakar. Nakar. In the English, you would say nakar, but it says here nakar. Foreigner, alien. Foreignness, that which is foreign. Okay, this goes into other examples and stuff like that. But the point is foreign and alien. Okay. So what does that mean? That means that the English is inferior. It cannot make a difference between the word nakar as a stranger and the word gar as a sorry. I didn't get that one yet. Sorry. Gar. Yeah. Wait, let me read it again here. It says here, okay, no stranger is allowed to eat, And then the other word is where a stranger is allowed to eat. It says here, and when the stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover to the Lord. It says here, this word stranger is Hebrews 16:16. Hebrews 16:16, which says gar, which is sojourner, a temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited rights. A newcomer to what? And what inherited rights is he lacking? Inherited rights are rights that you have inherited because of your lineage. Inherited of money, property, or a title received as an heir at the death of the previous holder. But in this case, it's wait, let me read on. Of a quality characteristic predisposition derived genetically from one's parents or ancestors. That's it. This one. Inherited, what you get from your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So a newcomer that is new in the land of Israel, lacking inheritance which is due unto him, though conceding rights. Here it says it. A foreigner of Israel, though conceded rights. So, what's the conceded? Admit or agree that something is true after first denying or resisting it. So what did the Israelites back in the days do? Also in the New Testament, what did they do? The Israelites that was not born in Israel, they denied them their rights. But Yahawah came and said, there is no difference between a Jew and a Greek, because we are all Israelites. So therefore, you cannot concede him his rights. He's lacking the inheritance that he properly deserves. Right. So basically, that's a small portion of showing you that the importance of knowing what language you're talking. Like, I speak Dutch. So if I speak Dutch and I translate everything not correctly. If I translate everything directly into the English, you wouldn't understand what I was talking about. Well, you might, but you'd be looking at me like, this guy can't even speak English. He speak broken English. Well, that's the same thing with the Hebrew, so I can understand. So if you don't understand another language, it's hard for you to actually comprehend, which is, understand that it is possible for you to just butcher a language if you're trying to speak your style language in their tongue, like in their language, right? It's gonna be really weird if you do that. Okay, so now I hope you have this under the wraps, meaning I hope you understand that this stranger is an actual real Gentile, while this stranger is an actual Israelite lacking inheritance, even though he deserves the inheritance, but he was denied, especially by the circumcision, the ones that grew up in the land that don't want you to get that inherited right that you deserve. That's why Yahawah said there's no difference between a Greek and a Jew and a Greek. Okay, now Matthew chapter 10 verse 5. These 12 Yahawah sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, so don't go to them, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, so don't go there neither, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. There is where you are supposed to go. And he told the 12 disciples at that time, but the apostles, So afterward, they did went to these other places. Why? Because then they started to understand what I just explained to you here. Because nowadays, when you look at a person from Africa, you'd be like, oh, he's African. Not necessarily. He's an Israelite living in the land of Africa. But sometimes they're actually Hamites. When you're looking at them like, this guy's kind of different. That's because he's a Hamite living in the land of Africa. He's not your people. You know, there's a difference, right? Now, this is Matthew 15, verse 21. Then Yahawah went thence and departed into the coasts of Tyre and Sidon, where the Hamites used to dwell. And behold, because they're the real Palestinians, by the way, Hamites. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coasts and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. But you have to remember, here he said, go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But anyway, let's go on. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she cried after us. But he answered his disciples and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not meet for me to take the children's bread, this word, and to cast it to the dogs, which is then her. Why? Because she is not living amongst the Israelites in the land. So they was calling her basically a stranger. And she said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Yahawah, but basically what she said is, yeah, that's true. The word was first given unto Judah, Benjamin, Levi, but then the rest came because a big portion of them denied it. So then the word came to the rest of the Israelites, which were the Gentiles living in other countries, which were these strangers, not these ones, not these ones. These ones are not allowed to eat of the holy meal. This meal that we sharing, which is the meal of, for example, Proverbs chapter 9, this holy meal, which is this gospel. Proverbs 9:1, wisdom had builded her house. She had hewed out her 7 pillars, which represents stability. And the house, what we're building is the house of, well, Lord willing, we're building that house. Lord willing, we are building the house of David. But then Yahawah is building his house, and the righteous man is supposed to build his house. The wise man is supposed to build his house upon stone, upon a rock. And that rock is, again, stability also. Because if you build your house on sand, your house is going to fall. If you build it on a soft ground, your house is going to fall and stuff like that, right? You need to build it upon stability, which is Yahawah, which is a rock. And not no Jesus. She had killed her beasts. She had mingled her wine. She had also furnished her table. What is that table that we eat off of? Which is this wisdom is food. She had sent forth her maidens, which are the prophets. She crieth upon the highest places of the city. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. As for him that wanted understanding, she said to him, come, eat my bread and drink of the wine which I have mingled. So it's talking about food symbolically, but just like here you have the book of Matthew 22 and one of Yahawah's parables, and it says here, let me see, Matthew 22:8. Then saith he to his servants, the wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy, which is what I just read here, where it says that they still go to the master. The word was first given unto Judah, but then because they didn't believe and rejected, the word went to the Gentiles. That's here. Where was that again? Wait, no. Yeah, Gentile, that's what where was it again? Shit, I forgot, right? Right, so they rejected the maiden. So it says here, Acts chapter 13, verse 46. Then Paul and Barnabas waxed bold and said, it was necessary, yes, necessary, it was needed, that the word of Yahawah should first have been spoken to you. But seeing ye put it off from you, and judge yourself unworthy of everlasting life, lo, we turn to the Gentiles. Now this is still that word, this is not that still, wait, let me say it better. This is now just that word here, Gentile, is now the same confusion as here. Now, when they say they turn to the Gentiles, they turn to the Israelite foreigners, which is gar. Right? So it says here, Matthew 22:8. Then said he to his servants, the wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy. They found themselves not worthy, and they weren't. Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find, bid to the marriage. So those servants went out into the highways, and gathered together all as many as they found, both bad and good. And the wedding was furnished with guests, with people. And so what has been done, the food has been slaughtered and stuff like that. Where was that again? No, wait a minute here. Verse 4. And he sent forth other servants. Now let me start here. Matthew 22 and 3. And he sent forth his servants to call them, which are the prophets, that were bidden, which are the maidens also, that were bidden to the wedding of Yahawah. Matthew 25 speaks about that. And they would not come. They had better things to do according to themselves. Again, he sent forth other servants, saying, tell them which are bidden, behold, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fatlings are killed. Same thing as Proverbs chapter 9, which is the wisdom. And we're getting married, ready to be married unto Yahawah. It will be a big feast. And all things are ready. Come unto the marriage. But they made light of it and went their ways. That's what they're doing until this day. When we're on the street, they just walk by, fan their hands or something like that, and went on their merry way. One to his farm, because if you didn't know, farming is a lot of money, because farming equals food for people. And therefore, you're going to be really happy to actually be a farmer, because you can sell stuff. You will have abundance of food that you yourself cannot eat all alone. So what you're going to do is you're going to sell it on the market. And you're going to have so much money that you will be able to hire people to go and sell for you. You know, it's lucrative. Farming is lucrative. So they was worrying about the money. They was caring about money. That's the point. Another to his merchandise, and this one also was working toward his merchandise, trying to sell stuff. And the remnants took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them. O Israel, Israel, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that murdereth the prophets. Okay, right. Okay, so I read that. Okay, so going back to over here. Now it says in the book of Matthew chapter 15 verse 27, and she said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. So she still was believing, even though this word was given unto the children first, the Judah, Benjamin, the Levi first, and then the rest of the Gentiles came in. So it says here, verse 28, then Yahawah answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith, be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. But here he said in 24, he said, but he answered and said unto his disciples, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So who are the lost sheep? Those are the gars. Those are the gars. This woman was not a nakar, or else he would not have helped her. One of those two. Helped or helping. One of those two. He wouldn't have came to her aid. Yeah, let me say it like that. Right. So going on now, it shows you here in the book of Luke chapter 2 verse 32, a light to lighten the Gentiles, and the glory of thy people Israel. But wait, let me go here. Isaiah chapter 49 verse 6, and he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth. So now it says here that the Gentiles will be saved, but that's talking about the same thing here. You have these type of Gentiles, which the word Gentile means stranger, as you can see it here. What does Gentile mean? What does it mean? It basically means what? Clan, not Jewish, not Jewish, family, Here, Gentilis, family of a nation, is a stranger. Wait, let me get that right. Right, here for, let me see here. Right, so it says here, sorry, not Kankir, let me look here. After the Most High changed Jacob's name to Israel, Gentile was another term for foreigner, that refers to anyone who was not a Jew. That's it. So it basically means stranger, foreigner, and stuff like that, right? Okay, okay. And the word foreigner, you can use that as alien. You can use that as stranger, classes of stranger. Ancient Israel was acquainted with two classes of stranger, resident aliens and foreigners, who considered their sojourn in the land more or less temporary. These were Israelites. These were Israelites that were foreigners to their own. Listen, if you come from another country and you live in America, when you go back to your own country, you're still a foreigner. For example, in Jamaica, they say, "Hey, Yankee boy." They call you that. Right, so it says here, is a word that usually means someone who is not a Jew. Basically, a stranger, a foreigner from another country. That's where the word Gentile, outsider. You can call it the outsider. Sometimes the term Gentile, what? Sometimes use the term Gentile to describe outsiders. So morons did that. The book of morons. Now it goes on. So these are the gar and these are the nakars. Okay, right. These ones. So you have two types of strangers. You have the one that is an actual stranger, because it says here, "There shall not a son of a stranger eat thereof." In the Hebrew, it says "son of a stranger," which is the other people, their nation here. Like I said, it says here, "No stranger shall eat thereof." Okay, so if you click on the word "see" here, or this letter, I mean the letter, it says here, and the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, "This is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof." But here's the word that they took out. And what is that word? Ban. And what does that word mean? It means son. So there shall not a son of a stranger eat thereof. But anyway, it's still technically the same thing, because his father is also not supposed to eat, and his son, and his son, and his son. So it's basically talking about the heathen nation, right? So now going over to here, wait here, right? So going down now, it says here, where is it again? Okay, to the end of the earth. Okay, here. Oh yeah, here was I. Jeremiah chapter 4 verse 7. "The lion is come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate, and thy cities shall be laid waste without inhabitants." I never looked up this word, actually. I never thought about it. Because I was thinking, if I'm correct, it is the heathen nations. It could say, wait, let me, if it says gar, I can still explain it, because where is it in? What the? This is Genesis 47. I thought so. I was looking for the word. Wait, let me look it up first. What the Gentiles? Hebrew 14:71. Garya. Yeah. You have also usually non-Israelite people as well. The reason why I said if it says gar, I can still explain it, because the Lord is going to butcher, what do you think? Israelites too. Because he said, like, I'm trying to get the word. Oh yeah, the fat of lambs and goat. Yeah, but you have to understand, this word still means stranger. But I'll get to it in another video, which is the people. I'll get to, because the Lord also called our people nakar, and that's in the book of Jeremiah chapter 2, which is here. But I didn't want to go up in it because I'm going to confuse people. Like, hey, so what is it? Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Let me. I have to get it for this same reason. Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 21. "Yet I have planted thee a noble vine, holy, a right seed. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me?" So the Israelites became a degenerate plant of a strange vine. And what strange vine is that? They became, it's Hebrew chapter 52 verse 37 here. Hebrew 52 verse 37. It says nakarya, right? Foreigner. So what did we become? We became unfamiliar. We became like the heathens. And that is to be found also in the book of Matthew chapter 18. I'm looking for 18. Matthew 18. I think it's here. Yeah, here, right here. Matthew 18 and 15. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as an heathen man or a publican. So yes, you can make an Israelite and heathen by the way of it. Nowadays, especially back in the days, you would call a guy a sodomite. You wouldn't say that. You would start with the F, vagabond. You would call him a vagabond minus the 007. That doesn't mean that he's actually a pee-pee sucker. It means that you're trying to insult him as a pee-pee sucker. But that's basically what you just called him. You call him a pee-pee sucker. So, yeah, but he's not one. He doesn't actually lay down with other dudes. You know what I'm saying? But you just call him one. Well, that's this thing too here. He's an Israelite, but you still call him and treat him as a heathen and a publican. You treat him as that because that is what he deserves. He's worthy of that title. Hey, what's up, heathen? Thou son of Canaan. What's up, you Canaanite? I remember that in the Apocrypha somewhere. It says they called him a Canaanite because that was an insult to be called a Canaan. Thou Canaanite. Thou son of Canaan. I think it was in the book of Susanna. Yeah, if I'm correct, it was Susanna. Let me see. Book of Susanna. Thou son of Canaan. Okay. Oh, it was the book of Daniel. It was Daniel then. I think it was Daniel 13, if I'm correct then. No. What? Suzanne 142. It says it right here. 142:64. Wait, really? No. He says it somewhere here, man. Oh yeah, here. Yeah, here. 50. It says Suzanne 1 and 56. So he put him aside and commanded to bring the other, and said unto him, O thou seed of Canaan. I spelled it different. Yeah, they spelled it different anyway. I spelled it wrong here too. And not Judah, because yeah, even Judah is spelled different. Beauty has deceived thee, and lust has perverted thine heart. So, what were they actually Canaanites? Were they seeds of Canaan? No, they were not. They were seeds of Israel, but they didn't act like it. So they was worthy of being called the seed of Canaan, which is a disrespectful. I think they said it in Daniel 13 also, because I can read it here. I'm not sure about that. Daniel 13 and what? 13. Is there a Daniel 13? Wait a minute. Daniel 13 and what and what? No, that was Suzanne, because it's not in the King James. Yeah. Hey, yeah. It will only go to it only goes to Daniel 12 in the King James. So I was thinking like, hey, I don't know that. This is the book of Susan. Right. Here, this is the book of Susan, which is, you can say, Daniel 13. You know, in the other Bible it's Daniel 13, but in this one they took it out and then they called it the book of Susan. You know, it's the same thing, same story. Daniel rescues Susan. The elders testify against Susan because, you know, they attempted to seduce Susan. Yeah. Right. This is the same book, but in the Apocrypha it's called the book of Susan. Right. So, okay. So yes, the Lord is going to come and destroy the real Gentiles, and he's going to destroy the Israelite foreigners in a Gentile state of mind. So I didn't break it down wrong, you know. I never looked it up, by the way, but I already know what it is. He's gonna kill the heathen. That's the point. Right. But you have Israelites that you treat as heathens. Okay, let me try to speed it up right now. Matthew 2:23. Okay, this is Isaiah 42:6. I, Yahawah, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thine right hand, and will keep thee, and give thee for a covenant to the people, for a light of the Gentiles. And like I said, this Gentile is talking about the Israelites, foreigners. I'm going to give you an example, for example, here. Acts chapter 6, verse 1. And in those days when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration of food. Probably because they was like, no. Women don't give food around here. We the Hebrew Israelites, we don't do that. Only men give food, because you don't know if the women are on their period or whatever. And having a female servant is very tempting for men, because, you know, you're going to look at that little cute thing, bending over, you know, putting the drinks on the table and stuff like that in a tight ass mini skirt, walking around looking all sexy and stuff like that. You might get aroused. And especially the scripture says, like, keep thine eyes of thy maid. Yeah, here. It says here, Sirach 9:8. Turn away thine eyes from a beautiful woman, and look not upon another man's beauty. For many have been deceived by the beauty of a woman. For herewith love is kindled as a fire. By the way, this happened in the book of Susan, which is so-called Daniel chapter 13. But this happened to the elders. They got tricked because Susan was so beautiful that they wanted to basically rape her, you know. But since they couldn't have sex with her, they wanted to put her to death. But I was not looking for this scripture, actually. I was looking for this one. It's in the same chapter. Yeah, got it. This is what I was looking for. Verse 5. Gaze not, Sirach 9:5. Gaze not at a maid, that thou fall not by those things that are precious in her. And what is a maid? Somebody that works for you, a maid. The definition, a female domestic servant, a maid. This one cleans, just as like a prostitute, but of course you wouldn't have a maid walking around like that in the house. Of course not. That would be your sex partner. You know, your fuck buddy, basically, your concubine. You wouldn't have a maid walking around like that. That's not something that you should be doing. You know, if you want to keep your loins out of her body, you know, if you really want to do that, you wouldn't allow her to walk around like that. And then she's gonna bend over, you know, clean up the table, go under the chairs and stuff like that. You wouldn't want that. You shouldn't be looking at her doing that. She might even clean the house better than your wife. You know, you'd be looking at her like, damn, she cook better. Stuff might arouse you. So anyway, all right, enough of that. Now, daily administration of food. So now the new, and I just lost off track over there. Went all over the place. Acts chapter 6 verse 1. In those days when the number of disciples was increasing, the Hellenistic Jews among them complained against the Hebrew Jews, because their widows were being overlooked in the daily distribution of food. Hellenistic Jews, what does that mean? Hellenistic Judaism was a form of Judaism in classical antiquity, yeah, that combined Jewish religion or religious tradition with elements of Greek culture. So what was it? It were traditionally Hellenistic Judaism was a designation for Judaism in the Greek-speaking world. So they were Israelites in the Greek-speaking world. And now what are we? We are slave descendants, so-called Afro-Americans, Afro-South Americans, stuff like that. You have Afro-Europeans, stuff like that. Living in an English-speaking world. For example, we speak Dutch over here. You got the brothers over there speaking German, which is not the same language, by the way. It's just like how you have English from Guyana or Jamaica and English from England. Sometimes if a person from England talk to you, you won't understand. What you just say? Sometimes if a person from Guyana talk to you, you wouldn't understand. So the Dutch and the German are like Duits and Nederlands, or Duits and Dutch. It's almost spelled the same. Like you have Dutch and you have Duits. This is Dutch and this is Duits. This is German. But yeah, anyway, it's just like that. It's like a crazy form of dialect that it's very hard to understand. But if you pay attention, I might understand it. But I'm not trying. Speak English to me, I understand that. I'm just playing. Right, was a designation of Judaism in the Greek-speaking world, and nowadays is more the English-speaking world, including those Jews who spoke Greek and adopted, to some extent, a Greek way of life. It has been argued, however, that all Judaism after the conquest of Alexander was Hellenistic Judaism. Now that to a certain degree is kind of correct, because it says here, it shows here, First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1, it says, not 1 verse 1, First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied. Where was it again? Here? Where? I'm looking for red. Oh, here. And evils were multiplied in the earth. Okay, that part. Okay, now to this part. First Maccabees chapter 2. Oh yeah, shit, I forgot. Going on. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Now here it comes. In those days went they're out of Israel wicked men who persuade many Israelites, saying, let us Israelites go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So these are some bitch ass niggas, I have to say it like that, that seeking prosperity because the Most High ain't with us no more. Why? Because we broke his law, so we're not going to be prosperous anymore, because the Lord said this. Joshua chapter 1 verse 8, it says, this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, and that thou mayest observe to do all according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. So how do we have good success? To keep in the Lord. But we didn't do that. So this little nigga, he wanted to actually go even further and make an agreement with the Greeks. So you have to understand, house niggers been here since the time of the Greeks. It's not something new. It's not something new under the sun. You're looking at them like, how are you with them? What's wrong with you, man? No. He's given unto them as a portion for his destruction. That's his portion. That's what he deserves. And he gonna get it too. Oh, he gonna get it. But not right now. The Lord is gonna make sure he gonna get it. You know? The Lord is strict with that. Right. What was I talking about again here? First Maccabees chapter 2 verse 10. What nation had not had a part in her kingdom and gotten off her spoils? Everybody got one off of us, right? So nowadays, again, they're really trying to basically get up in this truth with us and share the covenant with us. No, you're not. Get out of here, man. But you have house Negroes that will help them. And that's what we're waiting for the destruction of the house Negro. The one that is constructed against you. And he wants it too. Second, he really, man. Ezekiel 16 speaks about how he loves his lovers that don't love him. Second Maccabees chapter 6 verse 5. Going to this part again here. Again. It says here. Here. It has been argued, however, that all Judaism after the conquest of Alexander was Hellenistic Judaism. Okay. Second Maccabees chapter 6 verse 5. The altar also was filled with profane things. You can read the rest for yourself if you have the time. Which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts or fasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So it was against the law. By who? This devil. These Edomites did that. These Edomites did that. The real Gentiles, right? In the name of their so-called Jupiter, which is Zeus, if I'm correct. Jupiter, Zeus. Wait, let me see. Let me spell Zeus. The Romans regarded Jupiter as the equivalent of the Greek Zeus. Yeah. Right. And this is the Greeks, by the way. First Maccabees are Greeks. So yeah. When it says Jupiter, it's talking about Greeks. It's talking about Zeus, the Greek idol Zeus. Right. So it was against the law by Antiochus Epiphanes, the devil that I just read about in the first chapter. So this is chapter 6. Right. It was their laws and stuff like that they would arrest you if you would call yourself a Jew. Verse 7. And in the days of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. So they forced them. And when the fast of Bacchus was kept, which is going into Bacchanalia, which is going into basically a demon, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus, carrying ivy. So they was forced to comply with, for example, Christmas. They was forced, and later on they started doing them themselves because they lost their heritage, which is going back to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 4. Now it says, verse 8. Moreover, there went out a decree, which is a rule of law, to the neighbor cities of the heathen, by the suggestion of Ptolemy, which is another devil. If I'm correct, it was actually him. It was Ptolemy. I said Antiochus Epiphanes. No, I got corrected right here. I kind of forgot. Sorry. It's good that I read it some, but yeah. You need to know the history and remember it too, to talk correctly about these scriptures. So yeah, forgive me for that one, because it says it right here. So it's good that the scriptures show me correctly. Against the Jews, right? That they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. So they were scared. The Israelites were scared to call themselves Israelites. Then might a man have seen the present misery. So what happened here is exactly what is happening here with the Israelites. Started to call themselves the Gentiles and believing that they were, because they forgot who they were. Just like how you have our people nowadays, they call themselves after a color instead of a race, because black is a color. It's not a race. It's not a race of people. So what have you forgotten? You have forgotten how genealogy works. You think that a woman is supposed to keep her surname just because Esau taught you so. You think you're supposed to actually enter in a partnership when you get married. That's not your partner. That's your wife. You know what a partner is? When you come up in a business together with another person and you split it up 50-50, sometimes 60-40, sometimes 70-30. It depends on what you agreed. Okay, that's a partner. So when you basically divorce, you could call it that. When you break up, you could call it that too. When you go your separate ways, right, you could call that too. Then guess what? Somebody gets a portion, and that portion is what you agreed upon before you get up in that contract. You agreed upon a certain percentage. That's the only way and time. That's the only time when you are supposed to split up your belongings, the stuff that you have, because you built it together. That's a partnership. When you're married to your wife, that's not your partner. That's what the devil is teaching you. That's not your partner. That's your wife. There's a difference. And you ain't going nowhere. Yeah, I'm just playing. But yeah, here you go. Now you have this word. I already put that there. And then foreigner. Right. So, in general, concede, inherit. Exodus chapter 2, verse 22. And she bare him a son, Moses, and he, Moses, called his name Gershom, but it's Gershom. But anyway, it starts with the gar. For he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. That's why he called his son Gershom. Gar means a foreigner, and Sham means name. So foreign name. That's what Gershom means. And most of the time in the sentence, you will have the meaning of that name. And in this case, you have it here. Gershom. Basically, he says, and she born him a son. What's her name again? I forgot her name. And it's probably in verse 1 or something. But and he called his name Gershom. For he said, so why did he call him Gershom? For he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. So when you go to the book of Genesis chapter 29, I wanted to say 39, 29 verse 32. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben. For she said, so this is the reason, surely Yahawah had looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. So what is Reuben? Rabayan, if I'm correct. Rabayan. It says, behold the son. But the reason given for so calling him is, the Lord had looked upon my affliction. Like she was like, behold the son. Because, you know what I'm saying, she was being tormented by Jacob. He didn't want her. Okay, now it says here, verse 33, and she conceived again and bare a son, and said, because Yahawah had heard I was hated, he had therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. So what does Simeon mean? Yahawah had heard, basically, as you can get it here. Simeon here means to hear, or to be heard. Reputation and stuff like that. Okay, but the name meaning is right there, and that's the same thing here. The name meaning Gershom. And how does it start? Here, Gershom, Gara, or Gershom, which means foreigner. But if you check out the word, it goes into foreign, and then it goes into Sham, which is name. Basically foreign name. The name for the name of 4 Israelites. Gasham. Right. So not to make it too confusing, because there's another place where the Israelites are actually called nakar. Yes, there's another place. And you have then therefore here, which is Isaiah 56. Here. Isaiah 56 and 3. Neither let the son of the stranger that had joined himself to Yahawah speak, saying, Yahawah had utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree. So, an Israelite foreigner is not supposed to call himself cut off from his people because he's an Israelite foreigner. Now, when it says here stranger, it says here the word Hebrew 52:36. Nakar. It says nakar. But the reason why the Israelites were called, sorry, let me say it good. The reason why this man was calling himself like this is because the Lord, after a while, when we lost our, where is it again? When we lost our heritage, because it was a law, you would be arrested and you was forced to eat pig. Here it says it right here. They was constrained to eat sacrifices unto idols. Constraint, limitation of restriction, stiffness. Basically, you was forced. You was forced to constrain. You was compel or force someone to follow a particular course of action. And in this case, you was forced not to call yourself an Israelite, a Jew. And after a while, your children started to learn it, and you wouldn't teach your children because you don't want your children to get their ass whooped. So you don't teach them so that they don't get their ass whooped on the street where the police is walking around. And in this case, the police was the people of Ptolemy, which were the Greeks. That's the point. Right? A suggestion, right? So, right. And this time, the Israelites was not calling themselves Israelites anymore by this time already. So how much more further in the future? We didn't call ourselves that no more. We lost it. Here, no. Yeah, here. Right. So, around this time, we lost it. We was calling ourselves these heathen nations and stuff like that. These heathen identities. We was calling ourselves after them. Because the Lord said in the book of Jeremiah chapter 17, we will lose our, said Jeremiah 17:4, and thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. And what is that heritage? That we are occupants of the land of Israel, of the nation of Israel, of the man, that his name was changed from Jacob to Israel. You are a partaker of his lineage, of his heritage, of his blessing. You know, everything that belongs to him will belong to you eventually. That's your father. But we lost our heritage. But now we're getting it back. And will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Right. And we are serving our enemies. You want some water? You want housing? You want a car? You want transportation? What do you want? Oh, anything and everything? Guess who you need to serve? Yep, your enemy. But it's coming to a fact that we're not gonna be doing that a long time anymore. We're not gonna be doing that anymore. Because the Lord is gonna raise up his men. Yeah. No, I was just looking. Sorry, that's the book of Susan. What's it says here? The Lord is going to raise up his men, and they're going to go out there and start teaching the. Here, and start teaching the. No. This is Matthew here, and they're going to bid here. Verse 8, Matthew 22 and 8. Then saith he unto his servants, then saith he to his servants, the wedding is ready, but they, well, no, sorry. Yeah, here. Basically, the servants are going to come and bid you to the wedding. That's what I wanted to actually read, because I was looking for it. Matthew 22 and 3. And sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come. Again, he sent forth, yeah, I'll read it again then. But the point is, the Gentiles that will make it in the New Testament is the same thing here. It looks confusing in the beginning, especially if you don't have the understanding. But if you check it out to the understanding with the I self thereof, which is this I self, Revelation 13 and 3 and 8, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and this word is rich, and white raiment, because this word makes you clean, that thou mayest be clothed, you be protected, and therefore your nakedness is not shown. You have the armor of the Heavenly Father on. Spiritually, you're protected. And that the same shame of thy nakedness do not appear. If you go out and worship other gods, they go, you should be ashamed of yourself, and you naked. And anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see, which is the spirit of Yahawah Bashem Yahshai. You're going to see stuff. You're going to see stuff that other people won't see. I'm going to give you an example. This is what you're going to see when you have the mindset, right? Now it says here, where is it again? Okay. Kill the Indian, save the man. What does that mean? It is this. What was meant by the phrase kill the Indian and save the man? The purpose of the schools was not to teach you. Well, let's read it. Was to strip the Israelite, the Native American, of their cultural traditions and teach them the skills necessary to function in American society. Pat Pratt, this devil, keyed this belief with the saying, kill the Indian, save the man, in order to justify his reasons to assimilate the Indians to the Edomite culture. That is what they did. So when you think you're going to school, you think you're smart, you're not smart. You're being programmed. Now, you had the devil, because they are the devil, if you don't believe it. You got these demons, they're changing stuff. Now, it says here, educate. Now, I used to always pull this up back in the days. Educate. It says here, educaten, bring up children to train. Okay, you're training them. Okay, you're training them to do what? Do what you want. Here's the hoop. Hula hoop, boy. Come on, jump to it. Set that ass on fire. Jump. You can do it. Right. So it doesn't say nothing disrespectful here. But I don't know. I think they changed this or something. Because I was looking for it. And I found out that they have it here now. Education. What is education? Child rearing. What is child rearing? Babies. This is what you do with babies. Parenting, child rearing. Promotes and supports the physical, emotional, social, spiritual, and intellectual development of a child from infancy to adulthood. This is child rearing. The process of bringing up a child or children. So, educate. They're fucking raising your kids, man. That's what they're doing. Right? Also, the training of animals. You're a monkey. Because what you're doing is you're repeating what they tell you to do, and you're remembering it, and you're so good in remembering that they give you a prize. Here you go. Have this banana. That's what they're doing. So what were they doing in schools? They was actually training them. They was training them like how you train animals. Sit, roll over, jump to the hula hoop. Come on, boy, you can do it. Here, boy. Here, boy. That's what they're doing when they send you to school. But this is the fun part. When you know this, you're going to be angry. Goddamn devil. You're going to be angry. But if you don't know, You're gonna be just happy like Pharrell. You can just walk on the street singing. Here, you're gonna be happy. You're gonna dress like that. You're gonna be happy. You're gonna be singing. You're gonna be tap dancing. You're gonna love the world. You're gonna find it beautiful. You're singing songs praising women. You're so beautiful. Stuff like that. That's what you're gonna sing. You're gonna sing every day, all day, every day, looking like a little old white boy. I bet you he got that yellow hair on. Yeah. First to pop up. First to pop up. You know, his mama white, his daddy white. That's what it looks like. That's where his heart is at. That's where the soul is at. And don't think this is something new. They had it since in the Greek age. Since in the time of the Greeks, they had this shit, man. Even though we was under the Greeks, and also under the Romans, you still had house niggas that was loving them. Even in slavery, you had house niggas. All the gruesome things that they was doing to us, you still had a group of Negroes that was like, shit, I'm still love you. I'm love you unconditional. Don't matter what you do. You're my master, and I accept it. I want to look like you. I want to father you. You know, I want to father your children. I want you to be my daddy. I look like you. It must be yours. But yeah, this is what you're gonna find out when you know stuff. You're gonna be angry, right? But if you're asleep, you're not gonna know what they're doing. You know, and that's what the Lord is doing right now. He's separating the sleeper cells. No, actually, he's actually putting the sleeper cells. Sleeper. What is a sleeper cell? A terrorist cell whose members work undercover in an area until sent into action. Basically, you could call us this. You know, we do bring in terror unto Egypt. What terror? Let's just speak the truth. Think about it. In great boldness, let me show you how dangerous these devils actually really are. That's why the Lord said in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, in great boldness, NYPD, Near or something? Beard? Healing, something like that. Wait. Right, I got it. Here. This is what they're doing. Kevin Stacy says, kill him with kindness. And another one of his accusers dies. So if you don't know this guy, he was accused of raping a couple of people. And then they just died. They just happened to die. And a sexual assault case closed after accusers' death. Yeah, death. Yeah, they died. It's already 3 of them died. I saw it on Reddit. 3 of them already died. 3 of Kevin's, yeah, here. Linda, John, and Ari Ben. John Doe, funny. Anyway, have died this year. Okay, that's the fun part, right? That's why King David said, hide me from the secret council of insurrections of wickedness, right? But anyway.
Some sad news tonight. Another New York City police officer has taken his life. The second NYPD suicide in 2 days. The police commissioner has declared a mental health crisis in his department.
Now it's mental health. So check this shit out, man. 9 of 12 cops that saw Anthony Weiner laptop suicided themselves, basically. Bullshit, man. Other Edomites are hip to it. But yeah, NYPD reeling after 9th officer suicide. 9 out of 12 people who saw Anthony Weiner's laptop are dead. Where is that one? Did I click on it? No, I didn't click on it. Probably click on it another day. Yeah, here's the website. Mysterious deaths seem to be a common aspect in the Washington, D.C. circle of VIPs. NYPD is not even immune to persecution. from persecution. Right, right. This guy died. This guy died. This guy died. Oh no, this is Clinton pool. That death pool. Clinton death pool. All right. Yeah. Two senators. But anyway, this is the article. This is the not article. The news. Only one. I could only find one. You know, it was funny. But yeah, they died, and they all died by suicide. Basically, all these cops, these tough ass cops, that have been through things and seen horrible things, but yet they seen a laptop of a politician, Anthony Weiner, and they all ended up basically taking their own lives and stuff like that. Oh, so they say. So they say. And then they blame it on mental health issues, man. It's funny. It's very funny. You see this devil? You see this devil laughing over here? See, we see devils. You know? I see dead people. So when we look at these Edomites, we don't look at them like you. Okay? We look at them like people mourning. We look at them like this, man. This is how I see Edomites. but I'm funny too because I'm laughing. I'm not scared like this guy. He really scared. He really scared. He's crying and stuff like that. But we, Jacob descendants, we're funny. You know, we're laughing because we know when Esau comes, this is gonna happen to Esau. This is what's gonna happen to Esau. This is what's gonna happen to him. Okay, so we laughing. This is you. And this is the standard that the Lord is. This is the standard that the Lord is going to put against these Edomites. There's that standard. You know what I'm saying? And this is another funny one. Esau going to have the feces burst out of his asshole just like this over here. If you don't know, when people die, they take a shit on themselves, right? I forgot who it was. Oh, no, Eglon. Eglon also. Let me see where is that again. Eglon. Joshua chapter 10. No, where was it? Joshua. He needs to die. When he dies, let me see. Joshua 3. Eglon was a very fat man. King of Moab. Right? And then it says that it's somewhere here. Judges chapter 3 verse 20. And Ehud, a Benjamite, came unto him. And he, by the way, these Moabites had us in captivity. And he was sitting in a summer parlor, right, which he had for himself alone. And Ehud said, I have a message from Yahawah unto thee. Right? That's where this movie kicks in. Here, Rastaman. Nino Brown. I clicked it recently. Oops. Right. I'll put this link in the description box so you can check it out for yourself. Basically, Ehud did that. Ehud said, I have a message from Yahawah unto thee. And he arose out of his seat. And Ehud put forth his left hand, because a lot of Benjamites were left-handed, by the way, and took the dagger from his right thigh and thrust it into his belly. And the haft also went in after the blade. Basically the shaft. And the fat closed upon the blade, so that he could not draw the dagger out of his belly, and the dirt came out. So when he died, he shitted himself. He shitted. His feces burped out. And you know where you can find that image in your head? I'm not going to put the filthy image in your head. You can watch South Park for that. You know, with when people die, they fart. They shit actually on South Park. You can go watch that for yourself, Cartman. Right? I think her mom, dad, when people died, they always crap themselves. Yeah, you can go find. I'll put the link in the description box. But what I wanted to show is this: the blob. X-Men here. The blob from X-Men, and he got hit in the belly, and his not this one. He got hit in the stomach, and his he's so fat that he got swallowed up. You look at him here. Basically, this is what you should have in your head. How fat King Eglon was. He was so fat he got stuck in his belly. He got stuck in his belly. And there's another scene also where you can have it in your head too. As a visual. So I think it's this one. I think it's this one. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's this one. Yeah. Okay, here. Right. He got stuck. That's all Eglon. But yo, Eglon, but he died though. He's gonna die too. But yeah. It's I'm gonna put this link in the description box too, so you can check it out for yourself. But yeah, now you have an image of how Eglon, his belly was so fat that it went up in there, and the same thing happened here too. And he probably looked like Eglon too, big fat Moabite, and his his belly swallowed his hand up, and that's exactly what happened in the scriptures. You can read it right here. He just got stuck. The knife got stuck actually, right? The dagger, which is dagger. The knife, which is it's a dagger. It got stuck. But so when he died, he shitted himself, and you can find that in South Park. I'm not gonna show it right now because it's kind of filthy. Yeah, so you can check that out for yourself. And this is the movie, by the way, which is I think it was the Wolverine 2009 or something. I forgot which movie. Oh shit! Oh sorry, I got it. X-Men Origins Wolverine. Yeah, you can imagine Eglon here. He was a strong, fat Moabite dude. But when he got stabbed in the gut, he shitted himself. Shit came out just like this. It's gonna pop out just like that. Once we get that spiritual power, we're gonna punch him so hard, he gonna feces himself. Yeah, that's right. But you should think about it, like how bold we are. He's smoking his own people for telling the truth or seeing the truth, and we're telling the truth too. But the Lord is with us. See, the Lord ain't with these devils. You know what I'm saying? The Lord is with us. Yahawah, your Heavenly Father. He's with the Israelites. Let's say it like that. And then I know I can't go wrong, because He is with the Israelites. It doesn't matter what you say. He's with the Israelites. We hope he protected us, but still, I'm still laughing because that's where's the I see dead people thing. I clicked it away. Okay, cool. So with that, I'm gonna say shalom. Oh yeah. Gentiles and Gentiles are not always Gentiles. Strangers, Gentiles versus Gentiles are not always Gentiles versus Gentiles, but because sometimes it's actually Israelites versus, foreign Israelites versus actual foreigners. And stranger versus stranger is not always heathen nation versus heathen nation. Sometimes it's actually stranger versus Israelite foreigner. Foreigner versus Israelite foreigner. And Gentile, the ones that are saved are Israelites, and sometimes they are actual Gentiles. So yeah. And sometimes also the Israelites are called nakar, which is foreigner, because that's how they act. And sometimes you can actually call an Israelite a foreigner, like an actual Gentile, a heathen, because that's how they act, and it is lawful. Sometimes you can call an Israelite a Canaanite, just to disrespect him. Actually, he disrespected himself by acting like one. So therefore, you call him what he is. He's a spiritual Canaanite. That's his daddy. That's his father. He's a son of Canaan, which is in the book of Suzanne. I was trying to look for it here, but I clicked it away. So with that, I'm gonna say shalom.